With the threat of Targoid incursions in human space, the pinnacle of humanity that is Empire was rolling around in mud contracting all sorts of space diseases, while the so-called backbone of mankind that is Federation was enjoying a lovely smash your face against the wall mandatory monthly ritual to see how low can its IQ drop in order to set a world record. So it was up to the rejected Star Wars clones of Jar Jar in Alliance to buttfuck each other and somehow come up with a way to stop the nasty space meanies. What they seemed to come up with was 1,000-year-old scrolls from British military. So they tried to build an outdated tank. After the first 100 failed attempts, they realized that the only useful thing in British military was the names. And now after the success that was the chieftain, Lakon thinks, "Misa no combat, good! Make thruster box go pew pew!" So for the second attempt at catching a lightning fart in a jar, they opted to learn from British again. And the result was amazing! A Space Morris Marina for 30 million credits. What a steal!
You know, when I first heard about the Challenger, as I'd been flying the Chieftain almost exclusively for combat, I was really looking forward to it. Would it replace the Chieftain for me and other Chieftain pilots? While other pilots were clamoring to jump into their crates, I immediately jumped into the Challenger for my first fight. And like a flat earther seeing the planet from space for the first time, I learned a lot in those first few moments.
From the outside, a few things have changed, yet once more artists seem to be taking a piss and delivered us another modular ship, because we aren't sick of that already.
Well hey, at least they didn't just slap a ship kit on it and change the engines a bit like they did with the Type 10.
Oh, la-di-da, Lakon didn't go full retard and slap a fucking spoiler on the thing, so it can go faster or something idiotic as that. But still, what Chieftain got is almost a spoiler. Also, the front discolored, swapped out modules are really off-putting. It makes me think that Lakon just one day snuck into TheYamiks facilities and grabbed as many Federal Piggy parts as possible, so they later could strap them onto Challenger. Honestly, at this point it would not surprise me. Sure, the ships are not on the level of TheYamiks Piggy lineup, but for fuck's sakes, put some damn effort in it. But seriously, Lakon, are you too cheap to buy a paint bucket? You're not the lazy, come on! And the saddest thing is, the same sort of negligence can be found inside too. This really feels and looks like some sort of prototype ship that was accidentally mixed into the production. Yet the tail part is all painted, and that's different from Chieftain, but the front bits are not, so this must be deliberate. So perhaps developers are counting on people disliking the look of the ship so they would be inclined to buy a ship kit or paint job to mask this garbage. In either case, fuck off, you hacks!
Well, you know, Yamiks, they clearly just slapped this shit together, as the interior's about as well built as a British Leyland from the 80s. This Chieftain cockpit does at least have the typical Great Lakon view and a
Hey, dicks for us, you're talking about Challenger, not Chieftain.
Challenger? Wait, what? Oh, fuck me. This is the Challenger, isn't it? Damn it! Well, in my defense, I'm not sure how the fuck you could even tell sitting in the cockpit. While it's common for manufacturers to reuse parts between ships, this is rather absurd. From all I can tell, the guy that mixed the paint that day gave us the only difference, and probably only because he spilled his fucking drink into the mixer. While the view is nice, who the fuck thought it was a good idea to build a combat ship with a large glass canopy that's about as strong as a fart in the wind? Sitting in the crew seat does offer a rather good view of the fight from a stadium-style seat, if anyone actually used multi-crew, that is.
Well, for once I brought someone that actually knows combat, so now I can just sit back and look like I know shit about waggling sticks competitively.
Well, yeah. While Yamiks enjoys his stick, let's take a look at the Challenger from a combat perspective. Compared to the Chieftain, we trade the 2 large and 1 medium for 1 large and 3 medium hardpoints, giving us a moderate DPS boost. As we retain the 3 small hardpoints, bringing us to 7, this gives us an additional weapon for another experimental effect. More importantly for Thargoid combat, this allows the use of a 3rd medium Gauss cannon, meaning you can dispatch bugs that much faster. She also runs a bit cooler than the Chieftain, meaning you can actually use those 3 Gauss cannons without lighting that British Leyland cockpit ablaze. We also get those hardpoints in a nice tight grouping in the center of the ship, increasing time on target. But that placement also creates a significant issue as well. With them all centered, they make for an easy target for enemy missiles, and given she was designed as a hull tank, you have to expect to take a lot of hull strikes. Being a bit fatter than the Chief means it moves slightly more sluggishly, which isn't necessarily a bad thing when using a twitchy weapon like the Gauss cannons. The additional internal space allows for a bit more hull reinforcement, meaning you're going to be spending a lot of time in Mrs. Jean's kitchen waiting for her team to finish their work.
Okay, maybe I'm super fake, but I don't get the design choice those ship-ass vapor sniffers at Lakon made for the Challenger.
What do you mean?
Okay, so Lakon basically took a fire iron and used it to rearrange poor Chieftain's intestines, so now with 1 kidney and half of the stomach missing, Challenger at least has the space for drug smuggling, by which I mean the ship gained another class 6 compartment.
Okay, so who doesn't want more cocaine up their ass? What's your point?
See, Challenger, just like the Beef Chief, is a hull tank combat ship, right? Meaning that its shields are either meh or very small, plus made for, guess what? Combat! Not trade or exploration. So, what the fuck will you use that slot for? There is no combat-related module that you can equip in that slot with the same size.
Well, other than a shield cell bank?
Exactly. Yes, I understand that shield cells are used even in hull tanky ships, but really, in PvP or PvE, you're better off with more hull or module reinforcements, but due to them being limited in size, you're pretty much wasting that potential in that slot. Seriously, that extra internal slot makes no fucking sense to me. Why not just put 2 or 3 smaller ones? Lakon, you intellectually bankrupt organ harvesting cunts, what the fuck are you doing?
Couldn't agree more, Yamiks. The issue with the cell bank here is that you just don't have the power for it, as you're going to want to armor that power plant. So the vast majority of pilots are going to be putting a class 5 module or hull reinforcement there, wasting that slot. My biggest issue with the Challenger is, why does it exist? Did we really need another medium class hull tank combat ship? With nothing to set it apart, it's no wonder I've yet to see one being used in PvP. Flying like a brick, it's like Lakon really did hire British Leyland to design the fly-by-wire systems, as you more ask it to do something rather than tell it. Then, once it does start moving, it doesn't make up for that with any great speed. Given it's only 10 tons fatter than its little brother, it seems the Challenger has gotten dad bod a whole lot sooner than it might have liked.
Isn't it interesting the Challenger now competes more directly with Clipper, while still lacking in everything?
Yeah, and you know, the Clipper actually looks amazing.
I basically see Challenger as the Lakon version of Viper 4. Sure, it has more armor up its rectum, but due to asbestos poisoning, it's slower and therefore losing its original advantage in speed and maneuverability, putting it in that awkward spot where you're not fast or agile enough to evade the damage, while also not having enough Viagra to stay hard for long to survive that damage you could have avoided with Chieftain. The only 2 things going for it are hardpoint amount and cargo bay. Yet, it's a fucking combat ship, not a trader.
I've really struggled to find something the Challenger does better than, or fuck, even as good as, other medium-class ships. So far, the only thing I've even remotely enjoyed it for was squishing Thargoid scouts, and even then, there are other medium and small-class ships I'd rather use. I'm not sure what pilots Lakon consulted with during the design or testing phase. Something tells me when their bosses told them to design a new ship, they spent a morning playing with the clay model of the Chieftain, then just went down to the pub for the afternoon. Oh wait, the Challenger? Oh yeah, she's all done.
Now, as for me, Challenger, in a phrase, is mentally challenged. Oh, and it still looks like a dog taking a shit. Misa want to kill myself! This is garbage! See, Challenger, just like the Beef Chief, is a hull tank. Very slow fall. Will I survive? No, I won't. That's how weak the Imperial Eagle is. Can't believe it. Oh, never mind. And for a second there I thought that Eagle was actually made out of rather tougher stuff. Oh, wow.